Hey everyone, welcome to this Land in the Bible short. These are really great ways to get some faith-affirming tidbits about archaeology, maybe a little bit of history,
apologetics,
maybe a little bit of apologetics, a little bit of geography. All of the ographies, histories, all those things. So
a little bit of football,
maybe football and music. So what are we going to get into on this one? Because I know what you're going to talk about, and I think it's super cool. So
we're going to talk about burial at the time of Jesus.
Cool, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about how you buried people at that time. We talked about this a little bit on the full length episode of the tomb, but just to recap for those of you who don't watch the long episodes. At the time of Jesus, when someone was buried, according to Jewish law, you needed to be in the ground before sunset of that day. They were very concerned with, disease that could be spread by a rotting body, which is true. That can happen. And that was a good idea. And so, when someone passed away, they were very quickly cleaned. The body would be cleaned, wrapped, and then put into a tomb. Now, what you have to know about the tombs is that they don't look anything like what you think of as a tomb. Okay, here in America, we tend to dig a hole 6 feet deep, straight down, put you in a box, and lower you into that hole. That is not what was done at the time of Christ. The first thing you have to know is that the land, let's say around Jerusalem, or really anywhere in the Holy Land, the land there is it's all limestone. About 90% of the country is limestone. So if grandma passed away today and you had to get her buried today, you had a big problem because there was no power tools back then. It was just, and you're going to use a pick, to break up some limestone, shovel it away.
Right.
And you're going to dig a hole deep enough for a body right now. It will never happen. And so all families had tombs ready. Okay. All families had tombs that were ready to go in case anybody passed away. Now, the other thing you have to know about the land is that it's incredibly steep and rugged. Lots of hills and mountains and cliffs and things like that. So you didn't dig holes. You dug into cliff faces sideways. Right. No tombs were straight down holes. Right. Even till this day, I don't really know if that's hardly ever done. I'm thinking about it. Everything is cliff faces, and you're put into the wall this way. Even the tomb of Christ was entered from the front, not looking down. Most of them are fairly small. It's basically a shelf. It's like a sort of square hole cut into the rock, going straight back in, long enough to put a person in there. So, 5 or 6 feet, most people over there are shorter than people here typically. And at the time of the Bible, when people weren't eating a whole lot of protein, they would have been significantly shorter than we are now. So, again, 5 to 6 feet, 6 feet would be on the long side. Dig a hole. It's like a shelf, put you in there, seal the hole. In the case of Christ, they had a rolling rock to seal it. Sometimes they would just plaster it or brick it closed. They seal the hole and they leave you in there for about a year. And the way they treated the bodies was sort of the opposite of the Egyptians. So Egyptians treated bodies such a way as to preserve them. That's why we still have 3,000-4,000 year old Egyptian mummies that you can kind of tell what they look like. And it's a little bit gross, but they're all dried out husks of humans, but they're still there and recognizable. Whereas the Hebrew version of burial was the opposite. It was designed to speed decomposition. Mm-hmm. And so a year later, they opened the tomb. All that's left are bones. And they would take those bones and put them in a box. That box is called an ossuary. Earlier in history, we believe they would just pile the bones up, which is why some people think in the Old Testament, several times when people died, you have the phrase, he was gathered to his fathers. Because I think that has eternal meaning. I think that's a heaven and hell thing. But, some people say that that's a reference to the fact that
gathering the bones.
At some point, your bones were chunked on top of your dad's and your granddad's, and it's just sort of this pile of the family's bones in a corner somewhere.
Yeah.
Near the tomb that you guys were reusing over and over again, which is, by the way, why in the account of Christ's burial, it points at a tomb that had never been used. So they would reuse them. You put somebody in for a year, take them out, reuse, because it was just incredibly difficult to dig the tombs out. Okay. Now, today I want to deal with the specific ossuary or bone box. So you have to think about it. So later in history, at the time of Christ, everybody put the bones in a box. It was a limestone carved box. It had to be as long as the person's femur, so your upper leg bone, which is the longest bone in your body. That would dictate the length of the box. And then how nice the box was, how tall it was, and how ornately carved it was would correspond, of course, just to your wealth, your class. Mm-hmm. Well, we mentioned in an earlier short that one of the great criticisms of the Bible was the fact that there was never any record of a guy named Pontius Pilate until there was record of a guy named Pontius Pilate. And they found inscriptions in Caesarea referring to Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea, at the time of Tiberius. So that's pretty good. It's pretty good for us. Later, a signet ring as well. Well, another critique, I suppose, was people saying, well, there's no Caiaphas. This Caiaphas guy doesn't exist. We've never seen or heard of him. And, lo and behold, back in the 90s, they were digging around in a place called Abu Tor, which is just sort of across the valley from the old city of Jerusalem. And they found two, but they found a series of burial caves. In excavating those burial caves, they found two bone boxes, two ossuaries. And one of them was a large, highly, highly ornate, meaning it was a very rich man, ossuary, inscribed with the name Caiaphas. Okay, now, let's be totally clear. That is not as good as the Pontius Pilate thing. Because the Pontius Pilate thing says, Pontius Pilate, prefect of Judea, reign of Tiberius. I mean, it's like utterly perfect. This one is more like, it could be. So it's a bone box. It says Caiaphas on it. It's highly ornate, which means really, really rich guy. And, as the chief priest would have been. Also, they verified the bones are that of a man in his 60s. They can tell by the bone generation and the condition of them. So it fits the bill really well. So it's likely, and at least we have proven that there was a really rich guy named Caiaphas at the time of Christ. Right. Okay, but it is likely, given how it was buried, some of the things very likely could be the bone box of Caiaphas, the high priest, which would then affirm also his existence, which is good for us. Mm-hmm. And it goes on and on. What you have to remember is, whenever the Bible seems wrong, dig a little deeper. There's maybe some information, or just wait a minute. The truth will come out, and you'll find out that it's not. Yeah. So it's a good one.
That's cool. Now, is this also have to do with like all the names on the bone boxes and different things?
That's a different one. We're not going to jump that gun.
Okay. I don't want to get.
I don't want to give that away. The name study stuff.
Okay, that's
a different short.
Okay, we'll have to. Yeah, we'll have to link to that in this description, because that one I think is so
they're tied together.
It's so interesting, and because that is like very faith affirming stuff. But thanks for doing that. That's really cool. So hey, if you like this and you want to check out more stuff like this, just check out Landon in the Bible Shorts, or tune in, or like and subscribe, or go over to landinthebible.com and check out what we got going on there. There's all the places you can check out what we're doing. Do that.
Subscribe, support.
That's right. And we'll see you later.
Bye. Hey guys, if you like our content, please click like and subscribe. That really helps us out a lot. And then also go to landinthebible.com and subscribe for premium content. If you go over there, we've got tons of stuff that's really great. We have print materials that you can download. We have PDF study guides for all of our lessons. We've got devotional materials over there. We also have every single video and podcast we've done in full-length format with no ad interruptions and in full video. So you can get all of that on the landofthebible.com with the premium subscription, and that really helps us. It helps us generate more content, and also half of it goes to help us go overseas and help refugee kids, is what we're really called to do.